Hey, everybody. Quick roundup of the show, and my voice will last. We began with the quote from Tom Vilsack, Agricultural Secretary, and actually we concluded the show with the man that we were citing the research from, Stephen Camarata, of the Center for Immigration Studies. Now, why am I hitting this? I see this as the way we see some of the compromise speak. Some in Washington think it's their job to compromise and get together and just get along, because all this partisanship, meaning people standing up for what they believe in, is bad. They got the wrong message. We don't want more stuff coming out of Washington. And when it comes to amnesty, certainly do not want it. Didn't do well in 2007, obviously, because people got involved, and Laura Ingraham really led that, by the way. Credit to her. Now, a number of reasons, and detailed in the interview with Stephen Camarata. You can check out that interview. Undermines the basic of the rule of law, and also when we talk about what they're trying to fix, like everything else, they really haven't identified the problem, and they've exaggerated the consequences. Sound familiar? Well, it sounds familiar because you saw it in the health care bill, Affordable Care Act, you saw it in Dodd-Frank, and you saw it with the stimulus before everything. So this is a trend, and identifying trends, exactly what we did in the first half hour. The first half hour was spent of the show was spent going through what President Obama has said, not about him personally, but how that lines up with the record. And why is the press curious about what was said about the sequester? Why? Wait a second, you're not going to hold people to account, releasing prisoners, stating things that were exaggerations or outright lies, and having department heads do it, and hey, it's okay. No, it's not okay. It's not okay for Republicans. It's not okay for Democrats. It's not okay for our country, elected representatives, to do that. It shows absolutely no respect for the American people. Notice, I'm not talking about Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals. I'm talking about the American people. The American people, everybody should be offended by that. They should also be offended by the treatment of the investigation on Benghazi and getting to the truth. And we played Representative Wolf citing the fact that he believes there's a cover-up. Now, as we look at what's happened with Benghazi, we have to ask ourselves, are we ever going to get the straight story? And remember, there is also media malpractice here. And CBS News is a part of that, as is Candy Crawley, but that was more contaminating the debate. So we are going to continue to pursue it, and I know you all are interested in that, because it is important when people representing our country are killed that we find out why, and if we could have prevented it, and if we're lied to after the fact, and that the media carries the water for those people that lied. That's a problem. When you say you respect the troops or people representing our country, as I said last night, I'll say it tonight, you give them a mission, clearly outlines victory, and you support them in that. And you also use the power of the bully pulpit to speak to what we are and what they are. The treatment of our soldiers is not only when they come back and making sure they get what they deserve in the sense of absolute care for their injuries and what they are carrying from the places of battle, but also when they're there. It's our country's job to do that. That's outlined in the Constitution. So really, I can't get over this, and I'm seeing things, what I saw in what I've learned about through the likes of Phil Jennings, Politically Incorrect Guide to the Vietnam War, and the likes of Dr. James S. Robbins, with This Time We Win, as he's talked about. The bottom line is, when the troops win a war, and they do their part, politicians shouldn't sacrifice that on the altar of politics. And I played for you a clip tonight from Chris Matthews slamming Cheney, saying, waterboard Cheney and he'll tell you the truth about Iraq. This is outrageous for so many reasons. But Chris Matthews is really obsessed with Dick Cheney. and Iraq. But if he goes back and reads the statements from the people in 2002, of statements from Hillary Clinton, Henry Waxman, everybody thought we didn't want a smoking gun. We can disagree on whether you wanted to go to war or did not want to go to war on the front in Iraq. But don't assign things to their motives. Don't cast aspersions on their motives, especially when you have a Senate bipartisan committee saying they didn't manipulate the intelligence. You see what happened, and here's the truth of why we're divided. And the left has divided this country. Here's how. When it came to the Iraq War, what they did was, oh, it's not going so well. We're hitting a pause, a stall. There's something wrong. We did the Paul Bremer version, which was, well, there were errors made, okay? And gee, hindsight 2020, we can all identify them. Bottom line, they saw that as a political opportunity, and recognizing that, they sacrificed our national security on the altar of politics. And they've done it time here. They've done it again with the surge. When it came to the surge, they were wrong about both. They gave away Iraq with the Status of Forces Agreement, and what they're doing in Afghanistan is unconscionable. I'm talking about the politicians. Because what has happened now is we have announced the fact we're leaving on an arbitrary timeline. That makes no sense. Yeah, we have a residual force. No. It's not right. And nobody wants war. Nobody wants war, but an infantile reaction to say war is the enemy. No, the enemy is the enemy. Okay? That's, war is war, and at times one has to do that. And yeah, the just war doctrine I believe in. I also believe in the just war doctrine for preemption. It's a part of that, especially in the nuclear age. That all said, we talked to Dr. Waleed Fairs at the bottom of the first hour. He gave us a great synopsis of what has happened throughout the last 2 years of the Bush administration and through the Obama administration. Remember, it's not about Bush and Obama per se. It's about what happened, and he was highly critical of what the trend has been and where we are today, especially in light of Egypt, Morsi, Muslim Brotherhood, and what's happened in Syria. Support people who desire to be free. How do you do that? And that's the question. Well, you outline and you at least give voice and identify the people that are not terrorists who desire and oppose the regime. Not talking about putting troops there. Okay. Then we talked to Larry Reed of the Foundation for Economic Education, and he is wonderful in explaining what really happened in the Great Depression. I mean, you get so much in this interview. It really, I encourage you to go back and check it out because Larry answers a lot of questions. But I asked him the question, what was more important if he had to choose, in essence, a strong, stable dollar or lower tax rates? And he said, well, if I had to choose, it would be the dollar, but both are, congruent. I mean, they have to work in that way. Both would be a part of things and necessary. But bottom line, we are going away from that policy. We had a weak dollar under Bush. We have a weak dollar under Obama. And guess what? Well, look at the economies overall. Now, Bush did much better than President Obama. Having said that, if you look at Clinton's growth was lowering taxes. Yes, he raised them, slowed down our recovery, then came out of them, took down the tax on capital gains. Boom, exploded. We had a tech boom. That was part of it, but it was a strong dollar. Reagan, same thing. Strong dollar. Key to it. And then we commented on the soda ban and how Piers Morgan thought of the soda ban and eating too many Big Macs. By the way, that's going to happen. There are going to be limits to how many Big Macs we can order at a time. Yeah, that's where we're headed. Because we are in an age that we've given our control of our resources when it comes to Social Security, health care, most vulnerable years. I say this a lot because I want this to resonate. When did it ever become a really good idea to give your money to government? They'll hold it for you. They don't hold it. They spend it. They play games, accounting games, and then they'll give it back to you. Or they will go into the healthcare market and you will work through that program, which causes all sorts of distortions and costs go up. It's absurd. We've got to understand that with freedom, our freedom comes from God, and understanding our rights, that carries a responsibility, and we have to be accountable. And I think that's a part of things as well, because if you say the government can do it, hey, that's not me. Government can do it. Government fills in here. Government fills in there. Always a safety blanket and all that. Safety blanket, like that safety net? Yeah. The safety net is no longer a safety net. We have a welfare state. And that's not to say, and here's another part of this, which is manipulated, by the way. When you talk about these things, you're criticizing people who are part of it. No, I'm not. I'm not criticizing these people. They're in the system. I get it. They've paid in. I get it. Now they're going to get paid out about $100,000 more than they paid in. That's just the reality. I'm not saying take that away. What I'm saying is these are unsustainable. Bring the government out of them. Let's make us responsible, not only for ourselves, but for those that are in need. And stop making the Faustian bargain of, hey, government, federal government specifically, come in and do this. Because the closest thing to eternal life, as Ronald Reagan said, is a government program. Because we see it today. And Larry Reed made this point. It was a brilliant point. What do you do when you cut government? You're cutting jobs, cutting people. Remember that? But when they was asked about the corporate loophole that stopped corporate jets, regarding taking out that loophole, he was asked about the jobs of middle-class Americans who are dealing with that and going to lose their jobs. Well, we got a head start. We got to do this. Now look at those programs, and I outlined WIC for you the other day. Check that out. Who's qualifying? Over half of Americans' infants are on the WIC program. See, these programs grow and grow and grow. Not just at the poverty level. No, it's 100%, 200% above the poverty line. That's what's happening. So, with all that, I will let you go. The good news is we're exposing this. We're having an honest debate. We talked about the Ryan budget. We exposed the gimmicks. Really, the gimmick was using the tax dollars from Obamacare and repealing Obamacare, which is not a gimmick. I think that can be done. And the gimmicks in the Democratic bill, or Patty Murray's bill, I could name, but we just don't have the time. I'll go over it tomorrow. Needless to say, they are counting spending that we were never going to spend, and they're counting that as savings, which is like saying, I was thinking of going to the mall and going to the mall, Crane? Okay, I was thinking about going to Walmart. That's where I actually have to go. And spending $300. And then I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And then I could say, well, I've saved $300. I saved that money. No, it doesn't work that way. Thank you. Live with honor in your life, compassion in your heart. Remember to always keep the faith. And know that God knows you. God loves you. He created you. You're worth it right where you're at. And I will get my voice completely ready, because I don't want to sound like Froggy from the Little Rascals. Okay. Thank you.